It's member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, all things considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, very special guest joining us. Band is coming to town on a variety of shows, couple shows in the state. Thursday, May 19th, Hawaii Theater. Friday, May 20th, the Naniloa Hotel in Hilo. It is a singer and harmonica fronting this band that is also, it has a real strong New England connection, we'll learn as we get into it, with Sugar Ray from Sugar Ray and the Bluetones. It's Sugar Ray Norcia. How you doing, Sugar Ray?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks.
You are welcome, and thank you for taking a few minutes for us here on All Things Considered. Before we get into what's happening in your history with music and stuff, give a plug to the band and who's going to be accompanying you on the tour.
Okay, yeah, these are not new guys. We've been together for almost 40 years. So we got Monster Mike Welch. He's the youngster. He's only been with us for about 15 years. He's on guitar, Monster Mike Welch. Anthony Gerasi on the piano, and Mudcat Ward on the bass, and Neil Guven on the drums. Like I say, we're a family, and we've been together a long time.
It's a real tribute to the kind of work that the camaraderie, the interplay.
Yeah.
Obviously, it means a lot when you can have that kind of longevity, and we'll explore that a little bit. How'd you first get into music and the harmonica?
Well, I was born into a musical family. My father was a musical. He taught music in the school systems. He taught chorus. And he also played great harmonica, so there's two things right there. And my mother was a jazz singer in the 1940s, so for a little bit until she got married. And I went to sleep at night listening to my two uncles who played guitar and bass. They would rehearse at my home, my parents' home. I used to go to sleep listening to them rehearsing down in the basement. My brother's also a musician, so all around me, I was surrounded by music. And I always like to tell the story of going into the rehearsal room during the week, and I could smell the stale beer and cigarettes off the amplifiers. That was quite a nice, a memory,
right?
Good memory.
And now it's a familiar and sort of comforting smell, I can imagine.
Yeah.
All these years later.
Yeah.
And you had some early legends I see associated with your career. When was it, before we hear about some of those folks, that you realized, I guess when you have that sort of background, it seems obvious, and sometimes it doesn't, people don't follow their parents, even when there's that sort of nurturing, all-encompassing degree of exposure to something. But when did you realize on your own end you were going to pursue it nonstop as a full-time career?
Yeah, I would say probably I was still in high school. I excelled in the music class, and I was always acting in the theater at school, and taking the lead role and singing, and you get a lot of attention, and especially at that age, when the girls are crowding around you and playing the piano or whatnot. I said, I like this, and my friends. I grew up in an area. I grew up in Rhode Island, Connecticut area, where everybody was collecting blues records, and that's how I got turned on to it at a young age. So when I heard the blues, I was like, oh my God. I mean, I'm kind of a nonconformist. I don't like to go with the mainstream crowd, and I heard this blues music, and that's just suited my personality and my way of thinking perfectly, and it still does to this day. So I was a pretty young age.
No, it sounds it, and it makes a lot of sense, too, as you put it all together. And before we hear about some of these legendary cats, you mentioned, your taste in the blues. And blues can be interpreted in so many different ways, and there's a lot of different sounds and styles within the genre. Give a little, for folks who are completely new to it, considering dropping in on one of these shows, just give a little summary of the style of blues that you guys incorporate and do live.
Yeah, well, we are considered a Chicago blues style, based band, and that's true. Wailing harmonica, vocals, and stinging guitar solos, and we got a great piano player, boogie woogie piano. So we encompass all of that, but we take it further than 1950s blues, and we create our own music. We've been writing we write most all our own material, so we incorporate, modern lyrics into it, and we're very passionate, and you can see it in our shows. This is stuff you don't fake. This is stuff that takes a lifetime to learn how to do well, and we've been there, done that, and it's very pleasing to be able to get across to an audience. A lot of times I see in my audiences there'll be, older people, maybe in their 70s or 80s, and also enjoying themselves tremendously, and also young people who maybe just happened to be walking by and heard the music and said, "What's that? It sounds different," and we can get across to those people too as well, all ages.
No, that makes it. That's a great way of having it be too, because this is the kind of thing that will last a lifetime. It's music that came way before you. It's going to go on way after you and I are here, and you describe it perfectly with that kind of wide range of demographic that it appeals to. Now, when I think about your life, there's some really big names associated, folks that you got to perform with or experience working around. I'll just throw a couple names out: Big Mama Thornton, Big Joe Turner, name two of them. Now, when was it that you first got your chance to associate with one of these cats, and share a story that kind of you marveling at perhaps your own success by getting to work with some of these legends?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that at a young age I used to collect records and go through record bins, and I collected Big Walter Horton, and I finally got to meet him and perform with him. My band, the Bluetones, would back him up, and we'd do small tours with him. Just an amazing experience. Same thing with Big Joe Turner. I remember one time being in the van, and he sucked down a beer with like 2 gulps and he threw the can out the window.
Oh.
I was like, oh my God, that's the last thing in the world I'd want somebody to do. But I'm not telling Joe Turner not to listen. And Otis Rush stayed at my home. J.B. Hutto stayed at my home. I took them fishing. We were like old pals. And I realize now that in those days, I thought they were old men, kind of, especially Big Walter. But he died at 60, and I'm 62 now, so it kind of puts things in perspective.
Right. That's true. As you get older, you definitely see it different. Junior Wells, where does he fit into the puzzle of your life?
Oh, Junior, well, I took a trip down. We all took a trip, the Bluetones, down to Teresa's on the south side of Chicago during our early years of, learning the blues, and we just knew there was a lot of history there with Junior Wells, Buddy Guy. So, we just drove down there like crazy men, and got let in the door there was a chain across the door, and this guy was like, I don't know, these white kids, and but they let us in, and Junior saw us. I had seen him before, and we got to know each other. So he let us in, and he put a $50 bill on the bar and told the bartender to take care of his friends, and then he got us up on stage, and we played, I think, Hoodoo Man Blues with Junior Wells at Teresa's. I mean, those memories are fantastic.
Who could forget something like that? That's huge stuff, and that's an example of the kind of work that you've done. And you mentioned Rhode Island. I got to spend 12 years in Boston, so I'm a big fan of Dell's Lemonade. Are they still making that down there in Rhode Island?
Actually, they are. Yeah, they have a couple right near me in Rhode Island.
Well, have one and think of me. I love those. I grew up out in Philly area, so that lemon water ice was a real big part of my life, and they don't have that here. So please have a Dell's and say, this one's for Dave. And also used to really go down there. I loved Lupo's. Lupo's is probably one of my favorite clubs, favorite places I've ever seen things live. Seen a lot of different stuff at the Strand as well. But how about Lupo's? Have you played there a bunch? What are your favorite venues in that area?
Oh yeah, I played through the years. It's been a long time now, but I remember playing Lupo's with J.B. Hutto, and we were opening up for Muddy Waters. Muddy got me up there to play. harmonica behind him. What a thrill that was. And in the dressing room, he said to me, "Son, that's how the harmonica's supposed to sound. And, man, you Italians got soul. Must be something in that spaghetti sauce." And I said, "Wow, yeah, okay, Muddy."
Amazing. Amazing. On stage at Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel in Providence, playing with Muddy Waters. Man, I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. That's good stuff.
Yeah, what the funny thing is we played with JB, and JB ended his set. This is, opening up for Muddy. JB ended his set with a couple of Muddy Waters hits, Hoochie Coochie Man, and a couple of others. Muddy wasn't too pleased with that. He was doing his stuff. I had nothing to do with that. That was JB's call.
Still good memories, though, man. And I love hearing that and think I can just imagine being. I remember sitting on the side of the stage as George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic played there, and I've seen so many. Seen a lot of George Clinton shows there. Patti Smith, all kinds of people. It's a wonderful, wonderful venue. Get the dollar hot dogs out on the street afterward. Cheap parking. Only.
Go home, hot burn. I just saw Rich Lupo a couple of weeks ago. The Bluetones were inducted into the Rhode Island Music Hall of Fame, and that's quite an accomplishment. And we did it at Lupo's club called the Met Cafe.
I know it, right around the corner there. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember recording a Warren Haynes concert there when I thought it was such a big deal. I had my little DAT recorder, and this is like 20-something years ago. So I know your stomping ground, brother. Been there many times. Many times. So a lot of stuff at the Civic Center, too, man. Everything from Kiss to Roger Waters, all kinds of big concerts there. You know what's cool about your thing? I want you to give a little plug to Monster Mike, who was, when I lived in Boston, he was this little kid. He was about as tall as the guitar, and they'd bring him out on stage, and people would, it was like a bit, as you can imagine, kind of like when Derek Trucks from the Almonds got started. Explain to folks the story of Monster Mike Welch a little bit.
He was like a child prodigy, a phenom. He was, I think, 12 years old. As a matter of fact, his backup band every Monday night was at the original House of Blues in Cambridge, Mass., the very first House of Blues that there was. And Dan Aykroyd came in one night. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah, brother.
Okay, I thought I lost you. Dan Aykroyd came in one night and introduced Mike and said, "Man, this kid's a monster." Well, that's the name that stuck. So my rhythm section, being the backing band for this young guitar phenomena, was a natural thing for him to eventually join the band. And he's been with us for 15 years or so now. He's a youngster.
It's an amazing venue that I know they've moved down to Lansdowne Street. It is long after I left, they shut down that original and moved the place down to where all the clubs are, right across from Fenway. But that original House of Blues had a lot of character there in Cambridge. It was an old church, right, that they had done or something?
Yeah, that's right. It was pretty funky.
Right, and it was a real small venue, always sold out, always packed. It was like hot in there too. Actually, it wasn't the most comfortable place because there was so small little dressing room up the stairs, Oh, I know the dressing room, brother. I remember hanging out. And I used to do sound, too. So I remember this band I was working for. We got to hang out with Dr. John for a couple nights up there. We were doing the thing up in the dressing room, hearing stories and other cats, too. It's just I can't even remember them now. But it's a great venue. And before I wrap it up with you, there's some recordings that you've done. One of the other Boston area cats, you did something with Jay Giles, right?
Wow, yeah, I did. Actually, it's a jazz record. He loves to play jazz, and he's always told me that he likes my singing. I sing more than just blues. I can do jump, swing, and jazz and standards and things. So, yeah, I went in and I think the name of the record's called Toe Tapping Jazz.
Nice.
And I did an old tune called One Sweet Letter from You. It was great. I've known Jay for a long time, and every once in a while he'll pop in and sit in with the band.
You ever play with Woofa Goofa?
No, no.
That's a word you don't hear out here in Hawaii, huh? See, I got a couple New England things I can throw at you.
I know. How long you been in Hawaii?
Been here since 2002, and you said it right too. Listen to you over there, Hawaii. They're sticklers about that. So
I have some friends who bought a home near Kona Village, so I've visited a few times. Never played out there, but.
Well, it's going to be a huge thing welcoming you out here. It's going to be, as they might say in Boston, it'll be wicked pissa. It's the balls.
You got that right, too.
Well, what can you do after 12 years of living there, man? I mean, it just kind of, it wears into you. It's always fun to talk to cats like you. I hope you had fun talking today. It was a real pleasure getting to mix it up a little bit with Sugar Ray Norcia, good Italian boy from Sugar Ray and the Bluetones, and bringing that good Providence spirit out here. Hopefully you can tuck a little Dell's lemonade. I don't know, you put it in a cooler, you put it on dry ice. I don't know if you could I don't know if you could make it out.
I'll trade you some pineapple, all right?
They're playing Thursday at the Hawaii Theater, and then Friday, Naniloa Hotel in Hilo. And a real pleasure getting to talk to you, and God bless you. Travel safe, and hopefully we'll get to catch up while you're in town. Maybe I'll come down there and we'll hang a little bit.
I certainly hope so. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mahalo.
Mahalo to you, cousin. Be safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Aloha. This is Sugar Ray of Sugar Ray and the Bluetones. And you are right where you should be. You're tuned to Dave Lawrence, my good friend.